the Man Cave Club.
Well, John, welcome back
Paul.
to the Man Cave Club, brother.
Good to be back. Absolutely.
I'm so glad you came down because give us a chance to talk about this baby.
And a sweet baby it is, dude.
Yeah,
I mean,
the real McCoy reproduction of the original Harley Davidson Cycle Champ jacket.
you sent me a picture of this, and I was like,
Yeah.
dude, if you don't get that, it's going to be gone, number one. Number
Right.
two,
120
this is-
jackets they're making.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're only making 120.
That kind of sounds like it ties into the whole 120th anniversary kind of deal with
Yeah.
Harley Davidson, what they're doing and all that.
Yeah.
That's
this is-
incredible. I mean, you sent me this, and I was just looking at it. I was like, "This is so you, number one."
Yeah.
And you've got all these super cool jackets, and I think this is just another badass addition that you picked up, man.
I love leather jackets.
Man, you and me both, brother.
What's not to
You
like,
and me
right?
both.
Yeah.
I mean, this is something that I think Jason Momoa had a big hand in, right? I mean,
Right.
we all know that he loves his, selvage denim, his vintage Harleys,
Yeah.
And, he's got that whole rugged masculine style to it. And
Yeah,
I
it's
think-
so cool to have someone like him on the scene,
Oh yeah, I mean, he's the official spokesperson nowadays,
I don't know. He definitely has some deal with
Yeah.
Harley Davidson, and it's kind of cool that he lit a fire under their ass to do this jacket, right? I mean,
he would, yeah. I mean, you got this is Buco, right? I mean, this is the real McCoy's.
I've tried to find information on who made the original Cycle Champ jacket, and as far as I could tell, Harley Davidson used a lot of different manufacturers. This is you're talking about back in the
Right.
in the 40s, 50s, and up through the early 60s.
I get to claim Shot where I work at, as
Yeah.
one of the first.
Yeah, I mean, Shot Leather produced jackets for Harley Davidson. Buco produced jackets for Harley Davidson. I reached out to John, my other friend John, from Leather Jacket Jon on Instagram. Leather Jacket Jon, Jawn. This guy has a huge collection of vintage jackets, and he seems to think that Blatt Leather out of Chicago made the original Cycle Champ jackets. But in all the older vintage versions of this jacket, there's only the Harley Davidson branding on it. There's no manufacturer's tag inside from all the ones that I've looked at, the photographs I've looked at. So it's really hard to pin it down. Maybe someone out there in the metaverse can chime in. And
If you guys know it in the comments, let us know, please. We'd love to hear you guys and your knowledge and your expertise too.
yeah, absolutely. So this is Veg Tan Horse Hide made by the Real McCoy's Japan, and it's probably one of the most accurate reproductions of this jacket because there's been quite a few reproductions of this jacket. Vanson Leather did one.
The Cycle King, I think they called it. If you go to the Harley Davidson Museum line, they have a Cycle King jacket.
Right.
And they have the Harley branding, but they also have Vanson there that tells us who the manufacturer it is. Finally, this time,
Right.
which we all love. Vanson, right? They make
Yeah.
amazing stuff.
Made in the U.S. 5-Star Leather out of Germany. They also do a version of it. They actually do a grizzly version of it.
The whole teddy bear look.
Yeah, fur pocket patch and fur collar. Pretty cool.
Oh right, you showed me a picture of that. Before we started filming. Yeah, that one was really cool too.
When I saw that the Real McCoy's was on board to make this jacket, and I'm a huge fan of their work, I really wanted to get this jacket because I know their quality of work is really top notch.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what they're known for. And you were saying their accurate reproductions. When I mentioned Buco, I mean they bought that name, did they not? they wanted to continue that heritage.
Right.
And all of those jackets that they produce now, not only are they just stratospheric high quality, but the way they were made back in the day has been modernized and perfected in such a,
right.
perfect way that you see so much in like Japanese, these niche, super high quality clothes, right? Which I think is so cool.
Yeah, this is the real McCoy's reproduction of the J24. This is the J24L, so it's a little bit longer because most of the original jackets were pretty short. They kind of, the length stopped right at the belt line there.
Do you think that was like a functional thing, or was it style back in the day? Probably. I mean,
well, it's
I know
probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Right?
Everybody was wearing high-waisted stuff back then.
Yeah, people were wearing wore their pants at their belly button.
Oh yeah,
and
way up here.
Yeah, but also I think functional.
Definitely,
when
right.
You're sitting on a motorcycle.
Motorcycle jackets, you want it to be, right.
You don't want it bunching up there,
right?
While you're riding.
The real McCoys are doing what they do best. They're like reproducing something out of the past to like the utmost.
Yeah, so they do really amazing reproductions. They have acquired original vintage jackets. Basically what they do is they reverse engineer them, right?
Yeah.
So they will take the jacket apart, stitch by stitch, seam by seam, and lay it on a table and reproduce the patterns, the original patterns, and maybe tweak them and modify them from that. This particular jacket, the Cycle Champ jacket, they actually did a little film, a little promo piece with Kent Tsujimoto. He's the design director for Real McCoy's.
Right.
And why don't we take a look at that now?
Let's do it. It's going to be great.
Here we go, guys.
My name is Kent Tsujimoto. I overlook the production aspect of the brand. We reproduced the Cycle Champ. It's a jacket that was designed by Harleys in the 40s. This jacket is probably the most iconic leather jacket that Harley Davidson produced. It's a truly one of a kind. The leather itself, who it's made by, what kind of materials we used. It's very, very hard to replicate. We're actually recreating the actual product that is, in front of us. With that being said, there's a lot more work that goes into it. 60 years ago, manufacturing was way more improvised. So basing it off of the actual product and recreating that, I feel like is probably the truest way to recreate something. Jason wanted to reproduce a leather jacket. He brought us, the McCoys, and Harley Davidson together. For this project, we're making 120 jackets since it is aligned with their 120th anniversary. I mean, 120 years is, it's very hard to imagine. It's a very big number.
Well, we were talking about this is a repro of what was going on back in the 40s and all that time, and like I said, every region was different, and so it's interesting whatever iteration of this jacket that was in production at the time. I like that they went with the dual hardware look, which I'm such a fan of.
Yeah.
And I just think it's so cool that they used brass zippers across the body along the D pocket here, but also integrated the nickel hardware snaps. And I know for a fact that something that you like, no belt, right? And epaulette details, but they're not actually epaulettes that are going to add more structure to the shoulder, so it's pretty streamlined.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. Of course, this jacket has them, but But typically, I'm not a big fan of epaulettes. I'm not a big fan of belts or belt loops per se. They have the snap-down belt loops, which is unique to this jacket in particular. Yeah, when I look at the original Cycle Champ jackets, they have the mixed metal on the hardware. They have the brass zippers and the nickel snaps and details. So that was a very accurate reproduction detail on this jacket. I thought they did a really good job with that. Yeah, I agree with you.
And another thing too that's pretty minimalistic too is they hid the snaps on the collar here too, which is really cool.
So cool, yeah.
Yeah, and again, that kind of goes with that whole minimalistic look.
Right.
A lot of people, especially when I'm selling a jacket, you know, they're talking about all these crazy hardware details and they think it's too much, but I think they did a really cool job on just making this sleek, streamlined, but still having that motorcycle jacket heritage and kind of spirit to it, which is so cool. D pocket, I'm just a huge fan of myself.
Yeah, I mean, that's classic, right? The classic D pocket. And typically, like on a shot leather, like this J24 is usually just a slanted zipper pocket on the right. But this particular jacket, this Cycle Champ, the Cycle Champ, the Cycle King, and there's also a Cycle Queen, which is the women's version.
Okay.
The women's version has a double flap pocket with missing the D pocket, where the Cycle Champ and the Cycle King has the single flap pocket on the right with the D pocket on the left, which is really a really nice detail. It has a action back, the shoulder gussets.
Yeah, should we turn it around for the folks at home?
Turn it around, sure.
And one piece of leather too. That takes a large piece of leather, and you know, not only is this aesthetic, but you know, they also say it adds to some of the durability in case of a slide. You know, you're sliding against this rather than, you know, hazarding, you know, opening up a seam right down the middle of your back, and you know, which is really cool too.
I guess the original jacket in the 1940s did have the red lining. I mean, most of the vintage jackets you see online, this red lining's faded to like a tan. And of course, you know, like we were saying earlier, there's so many iterations of this particular style jacket. Right.
Kind of almost looks like they got a pre-curve to the sleeves. Right. Unless it's been kind of broken in that way, but a lot of times they'll do that intentionally.
Well, I think that's part of the tailoring, because I haven't really worn this jacket too many times. I've probably only wore it maybe 3 or 4 times so far, so it's not enough. And I don't think I've even been on a motorcycle with it yet. Also, we should talk about the fit, because typically real McCoy's, it's a Japanese manufacturer, so they tend to fit slim. Like this J24, this is a 40. But in recent years, I think last year or the year before, McCoy's opened up their fit a little bit. They opened up their patterns a little bit. So this is a 40. I'm a 38, size 38. So you can see how like the older version of the 40 fits me. This is a 38.
Okay.
Because I think this...
So this is kind of what they've done in the future, right? I mean, this is the slimmer version. This is their new cut, it sounds like.
Yes, that's their new cut.
More like true to size, if you will, rather than kind of sizing up, because the real McCoy's historically has ran about a size small, right?
Well, I guess we talked about this in our last video. There's a couple ways to look at it.
I mean, personally, I'm unfortunately way too big to fit pretty much any of their stuff.
But you would probably fit in this jacket.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if Jason Momoa can fit in one, you're going to definitely fit in one.
Yeah, all right.
Because you guys are probably about the same size.
Yeah. Yeah. He's probably a couple pounds lighter, a little bit more muscle. But, you know.
I mean, he has a, pretty broad shoulders and 100%. A big chest. Yeah, I mean, I've seen photos of him standing next to other people. Never met him in person, so I can't say. I mean, we could do a whole video just on sizing.
Totally.
But I feel like this is a 40 on the outside, right? So that makes it like a 38 on the inside because you have to account for material. I mean, there's at least a couple inches of material
Sure.
that wraps around, you know.
Yeah,
But-
I've never thought of it that way, actually. That's
Yeah,
quite
so, but I think the art is to, like you say, build a jacket that's true to size, where the inside of the jacket actually measures a 38.
Got it. Yeah.
And then just call it a 38, right? So this
Right.
this is like, I would
It's
say...
like it's a 40, but you kind of, it's more like a 38 on the inside. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a pattern maker. I don't know anything about, you know, manufacturing garments.
Yeah,
So
neither.
this
Same
is
with
all
me.
just theory you
Yeah.
know, on my part. Yeah, just a beautiful jacket. Yeah, I'm so glad that Jason Momoa and Harley Davidson and Real McCoy's teamed up to make this jacket. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, thanks, Jason, man. This is sweet. Look at that.
And John, thanks for coming down.
Oh, dude. Always a pleasure,
yeah,
my man.
I appreciate
dude.
hanging
This thing-
out today, man.
Yeah.
It's awesome, yeah.
That's a nice pickup, dude.
Hey, thanks guys again for joining us in the Man Cave Club. Thanks to my buddy John here,
Good to see you guys.
and we'll see you next time.
Peace.
It's the Man Cave Club.